We've all got this image, don't we? The second someone says narcissist, you picture what? Someone in front of a mirror, maybe taking selfies nonstop, going on about their achievements. Basically, the human version of a peacock showing off.
Right. It's a pretty common way to think about it.
But what if I said some of the most, well, manipulative people out there are hidden in plain sight? We're taking a deep dive into covert narcissism today, where the danger isn't a loud siren, it's more like a whisper that wears you down over time.
I like that. Good comparison. Covert narcissists are really good at blending in. They can even seem really selfless or humble, which honestly makes them much harder to spot.
And to help us navigate this, well, hall of mirrors, we have an expert who basically knows these personalities inside and out. They're a psychoanalyst who specializes in complex PTSD and, the lasting effects of narcissistic abuse. So they've seen firsthand what these hidden forces can do. So say you're dealing with someone who never wants to be in the spotlight, always puts others first. How would you even start to suspect covert narcissism?
You have to peel back the layers, start to see the patterns under what seems like a really charming surface. One of the biggest giveaways is passive aggressiveness. They are so good at backhanded compliments and those digs that are disguised as, like, concern. You ever get that feeling someone's insulting you, but you can't really call them out on it because it's just vague enough?
Oh, all the time. It's like when, let's say, a friend compliments your new haircut, but they say something like, wow, that's different. It really suits you, though.
Exactly. You end up feeling criticized, but you're not sure how to respond. And God forbid you try to give them even a tiny bit of constructive criticism.
Oh, I bet that goes down well.
Not a chance. Any critique, no matter how nicely you phrase it, it's met with this, like, intense defensiveness.
Oh.
Or, even better, they twist it to make themselves the victim.
It's like their ego is, I don't know, a balloon animal made by a 5-year-old. Looks impressive, but one touch and, well.
They have a talent, let's say, for taking a conversation about your feelings and turning it into this whole epic about their own suffering. They constantly need validation, but it's hidden under this mask of humility, which makes them incredibly hard to figure out.
So it's all an act, like they crave the spotlight, but they dim their own light just so you'll encourage them to shine brighter.
Exactly. They might downplay what they've done, even put themselves down, but underneath, it's just this deep need for praise, for reassurance. And here's the really interesting part. They're often really envious of anyone who seems to have what they don't, even while they're busy congratulating them, acting all sincere.
It's like they're always walking this tightrope needing to feel validated, but if you try to connect with them, they push you away.
And that's where the real damage is, right? They're so focused on protecting their own fragile ego that they miss how their actions affect everyone else around them.
Makes you wonder, where does this behavior even come from? Is it like a choice, or are they driven by something deeper they haven't really faced themselves?
That's the question, isn't it? It's different for everyone, of course, but there's often this common thread running through it, deep-seated insecurity.
So is it nature versus nurture? Were they born with this, or did their environment shape them into these master manipulators?
It's rarely that simple, but let's say a child grows up with a narcissistic parent. They're always hearing these subtle criticisms, never feeling quite good enough. They learn to adapt by becoming, hyper-aware of everyone's emotions, changing themselves to please others and get their approval.
So sad. So instead of developing a healthy sense of self, they build up these walls around their insecurities, one painful experience at a time.
Exactly. They need to feel in control because deep down they feel totally powerless. It's a defense mechanism, a way to deal with a world that just feels unsafe.
And the sad thing is that same defense mechanism that maybe helped them survive a tough childhood, that's the same thing that ends up hurting their adult relationships.
You got it. They're stuck repeating the same unhealthy patterns, and they don't even realize the damage they're causing. I had this client, let's call her Sarah, who was stuck in this cycle of attracting and being drawn to covert narcissists.
Yeah.
She'd spend years pouring her heart into relationships only to have it slowly chipped away by, those passive-aggressive comments and that emotional manipulation.
It's uncanny. They have this radar for finding the most empathetic and giving people, the ones who always put others first.
That's the thing. It can take years, decades even, to realize you're caught in this web because everything seems fine on the surface.
It's like, what is it, that analogy of the frog in the pot of water? They don't feel the heat until it's too late.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to understand the tactics they use to keep that control. Because a lot of times, those red flags look like, love and devotion.
So how does it actually work? What are the signs that someone might be using this type of manipulation? It's kind of scary how easy it is to miss these subtle little manipulations, especially when they're, disguised as something
Oh,
nice.
that's the covert narcissist specialty, right?
Yeah.
Staying hidden but still pulling the strings.
So let's talk tactics. How do they actually manage to be in control without, making waves?
One of their best weapons is guilt. They're experts at making you feel responsible for their emotions, even if those emotions are, like, as predictable as clockwork.
Like they can sense your insecurities and then what? Use them against you?
Exactly.
Hmm.
And the guilt trip itself can be so subtle, so, like, almost innocent.
Hmm.
Let's say you're going out with friends and your partner says, "Oh, don't worry about me. I'll just be here by myself. I'll catch up on some work."
Oof. It sounds like they're being understanding, but there's this undercurrent of
Resentment. Maybe feeling abandoned,
Hmm.
and suddenly you're doubting yourself, like, wait, am I being selfish for wanting to go out?
And then your whole night out is ruined because you feel guilty, even though logically you know you haven't done anything wrong.
Exactly. That's the insidious part. And if
Hmm.
the guilt trip doesn't work, then boom, they become the victim.
Ah, the classic woe is me. It's
Yeah.
never their fault. It's always, someone else or something else out to get them.
Always. They got passed over for that promotion. Oh, it's because their boss is intimidated by them. Their friend is successful. Pure luck. Never their responsibility, of course.
So they manipulate by making you feel sorry for them while also avoiding any blame.
You got it. And if those tactics don't get them the attention and validation they crave, then they use their ultimate weapon, silent treatment.
Oh, yeah, the silent treatment. It's amazing how loud silence can actually be.
It's manipulation at its finest. They go quiet, distant, hoping you'll come chasing after them, desperate to figure out what you did.
So it's like this messed up game of emotional hide and seek where they're both hiding and seeking, and we're just trying to find our way back to them.
Right. And just when you're about to lose it, trying to figure out what's going on, they hit you with, honestly, the most confusing tactic. The backhanded compliment disguised as concern.
Oh, this is a good one. Tell me more.
Picture this. You're excited about a new project at work and your partner says, "That's great, honey. Just, don't let it stress you out too much like last time."
Subtle? I'll give them that. It sounds like they're looking out for you, but
But really, they're putting those seeds of doubt in your mind, reminding you of past failures. It's all about subtly undermining your confidence.
so over time, it wears away at your sense of self-worth, makes you question your own abilities.
And the scariest part, most times they don't even realize what they're doing. It's this deeply ingrained pattern, a defense mechanism they've been perfecting for years, maybe even decades.
And like we talked about, this can be really damaging for the people around them, especially kids.
Right? Kids are so vulnerable to this type of manipulation because they haven't developed the emotional skills to really understand what's happening. They start to believe it's them, that they're the problem, that they're flawed or not good enough.
And those beliefs, they can stick with them, right? Affecting their relationships, making them seek validation from people who, well, can't really give them what they need.
It's a tough cycle to break free from. It takes a lot of self-awareness and a willingness to really confront those ingrained patterns.
So for our listeners who might be relating to this, who might be seeing some of these signs in their own relationships, what can they take away from all of this? What's that first step to taking back their power?
Awareness is everything. Recognizing the patterns, understanding the tactics. That's how you start to protect yourself. It's not about blaming anyone or putting labels on people. It's about setting those healthy boundaries, learning how to spot these toxic dynamics and how to step away from them.
It's about recognizing that you deserve to be in relationships where you feel seen, heard, respected, not manipulated and controlled.
Exactly. And remembering that you are not responsible for someone else's happiness or their emotions, especially if they're not willing to take responsibility for themselves.
This has been, wow, a really eye-opening look at a topic that most people don't really understand. So to our listeners, as you go about your day, pay attention to the little things, the dynamics in your relationships. Are you giving away your power? Are you letting yourself be manipulated? The answers might surprise you. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about these tactics, the better you'll be at navigating the world with confidence and being your true self.